Today we are going to read Carving Stories in Cedar, How to Make a Totem Pole by Christine F. Anderson. So over here it tells us we're going to read a descriptive article. The genre is a descriptive article, and a descriptive article can describe the steps someone uses to do or make something. So think of like sequence. It's going to tell us what happens first, next, then last, or maybe put steps in order like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might be a bullet point. But right here, how to make a totem pole tells us we're going to have some steps to look at. We're also going to pay attention to text features. The title, right here, the title tells what the article is about. A subtitle gives more information about the title. So right here it shows us, here's the title, down here is the subtitle. Then obviously we have the author of the text. So a quick picture walk. We have this text feature, which is a map, and it's pointing to northwest, right? So here's Canada and the United States. Here's kind of a legend right here. It tells us north, south, east, and west. This is the Pacific Ocean. Over here, there's a photograph. This is a finished totem pole. It stands next to uncut cedar trees. So in the background, you can see that there's uncut trees, but right here is a finished totem pole. So when we start reading, we're going to set a purpose. We're going to find out what totem poles are and how they are made. And you might have seen a totem pole or heard about totem poles, but this article is going to give us a lot of information about them and how they are made. Over here we have another subtitle or like a chapter heading. How were the totem poles different? So this is going to tell us about how they were different. Again, we have a photograph, shot ridge in traditional tlingit clothing. I'm going to have to figure out how to say that word. I'm not quite sure how we pronounce that. Oh, clinket right here. That's another kind of like a text feature, right? It tells me how to pronounce that word, clinket. So shot ridge in traditional clinket clothing. How do you carve a totem pole? This will tell us how we carve a totem pole. Then here's some more pictures for us to look at. This one is a reproduction of the Sun Raven totem pole. Shot Ridge finished it in 2003. Then down here, 2 earlier reproductions were made by different artists in 1902 and 1938. You can see we're going to be learning the sequence of how to make a totem pole. It's numbered right here. Shot Ridge draws a design for a bird's beak. So if you look closely, it's probably hard to see on the video, but you can see that he's drawn a little bit on the wood. Over here, he carves the pole. Over here, oh, this is a label to a picture. Down here's another photograph. Sue Shot Ridge paints in traditional colors. Over here, we still have more steps, more photographs. People use ropes to raise a totem pole. And then over here, these traditional costumes are worn to a potlatch. Then we're going to get into another story. So we're gonna preview this story in just a few minutes. So let's go back through. We're just gonna read this first story, but there are 2 passages that we need to read this week. So the first one, Carving Stories in Cedar, How to Make a Totem Pole by Christine F. Anderson. So remember, we're going to find out what totem poles are and how they are made. What is a totem pole? Oh, look, find out what totem poles are. It's going to tell us right here. Everyone likes to hear family stories and legends. And if I look down here, legends are old tales. Many tales are passed down from generation to generation. Hundreds of years ago, native people, or the first people in the area, lived along the northwest coast of the United States and Canada. So you can see right here, it's kind of red. That's where they lived. They did not have a written language. These first people created a special way to tell their tales and family histories. Master carvers, people who cut wood really well, chose cedar trees from the forests. These trees were tall and straight, and some had red-colored bark. The carvers carved pictures into the soft wood to record or keep and remember family stories. They also carved poles to honor their chiefs and other important people who had died. So honor their chiefs means to show they cared about their leaders. These carvings are called totem poles. Sometimes they are called silent books. How do you know what a cedar tree looks like? Are there words in the text that help us to understand in our minds what a cedar tree looks like? There's a picture right here, but there's words in the text that help us to visualize or to see a picture of maybe what a cedar tree would look like. Right here it says they chose cedar trees from the forest, so it should tell us right here they were tall and straight and some had red colored bark. That helps me to see to help me visualize or see what a cedar tree would look like. How were the totem poles different? Each family or clan, group of families living together, used an animal to represent them. The animal stood for something special about their culture and identity, about who they were and their history. So carvers used those animals and other family symbols to create the totem poles. The families placed the tall sculptures or works of art or carvings in front of their homes to show who lived there. They also used the poles like signs to welcome visitors to their villages. The poles helped us tell our story, says Israel Shotridge, a Tlingit, right? Tlingit carver from Ketchikan, Alaska. They help us preserve our culture and identity. And then here's Tlingit in his clothes. How do you carve a totem pole? Shotridge has been carving for 20 years. He uses methods, the same steps, that were used in the past. Tradition is an important part of what I do, he says. Here's how Shotridge makes a totem pole. Okay, so here's the steps part. Here's the sequencing, okay? Number 1, he chooses a design. Before he begins carving, Shotridge talks with the person who wants him to carve the pole. They discuss the design. Some of the poles are reproductions or copies of old poles. Others are new designs used for business, government buildings, and schools. Number 2, he prepares the tree. Next, Shotridge finds and cuts down a tall, straight cedar tree. He sings special songs his mother, a tribal elder, we'll come back to that, wise older person, taught him as he works. Then he removes the bark. He cuts off the outside layer of the tree. He draws the design on the wood with a special pencil. Sometimes he adds extra pieces of wood to show a bird's wings or a fish's fins. Now, before I go on, he prepares the tree is also down here. He gets the tree ready, right? You prepare means to get ready. Number 3, he carves the pole. Then Shotridge uses tools such as an adze and chisel. Maybe that's aids. I'll look it up. I think it's adze, and chisel to carve the design into the wood. An assistant or helper may work with him on the larger poles, but even with help, some poles take almost a year to complete. He paints the pole. Shotridge paints his pole in the traditional colors of red, teal, blue, and black. Early carvers made their paints from local minerals or materials from nature, such as copper and iron mixed with salmon eggs, but Shotridge, like most modern carvers, buys his paint. People raise the totem pole. When the pole is almost finished, plans are made to raise it. Cranes, large machines used to lift heavy objects, lift big poles into place. The poles often weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Smaller poles are raised by hand. We usually raise poles the old-fashioned way. The old way, says Shotridge. We use lots of manpower and ropes, so lots of strength of many people. Number 6, everyone celebrates. When a pole is raised, the person who asked for it often has a big celebration. It is called a potlatch. Everyone feasts or eats a lot. Sometimes people give gifts to each other. The bigger the pole, the bigger the party. If the pole is commissioned by a clan member or made for a clan member, guests sing songs from their family's clan. Once the pole has been raised, another silent book stands to tell the story of the people of the Northwest. And that is the end of our first reading.